What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside the Five. It's Will.
It's Stav.
And it's Griff.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit about MLB offseason and spring training. We got some college basketball, another big week ahead, getting into conference championships coming up soon in the next couple of weeks. We also got a little NBA and some NFL offseason. What do we say, boys?
Let's do it.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to start things off with a little MLB spring training and free agency. We're going to start off with free agents because, guys, there's still a good amount of solid free agents out there. I know the big one that signed already was Cody Bellinger, which was on this list as of 2 or 3 days ago. He just re-signed with the Cubs for 3 years, $80 million, but we'll get to some of the notable signings in a little bit. But I want to talk first about Blake Snell, Cy Young winner, still available, Matt Chapman, and Jordan Montgomery still available. Griff, what do you think about these guys still remaining available? Like, we're already going to be hitting almost week 2 of spring training, like of games and stuff like that. I know we just started a few days ago, but it's kind of odd seeing big names like this still around.
Yeah, and we're kind of getting to this point, and I feel like it's happening in all sports, where I feel like the last time where we've had a big, I guess you could say, issue in free agency was with the running back situation in the NFL, where it's like there's such a surplus of talent right now where Blake Snell is going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it's going to be hard for a team, and not only a team but someone that's a contender, to give up a large chunk of their salary cap to go towards Blake Snell when a lot of these contenders already have guys. I just want to say I hate Jordan Montgomery. I've been trying to talk myself onto him. There's been a lot of talk about getting him on the Red Sox. I called into the Sports Hub today, and I'm still very upset about it. I love Blake Snell. I really want to talk about Blake Snell right now, and I think that he deserves, obviously, a contract. I just think the big issue is what he wants to be on a contender. He wants to go out and win a World Series, and all of these contenders already have their starting pitchers. I mean, we're into spring training right now. He's kind of got to buckle up and maybe go head to a team, maybe on a 1-year or 2-year deal, and just go get his money.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like how baseball does this. I think that they need to have a window in which guys can sign. If not, you have to start the season, or you can't go through spring training with the team. And I think a majority of this is coming from Scott Boras, because he has a monopoly on baseball, and every single name is under Scott Boras's management. I think that Montgomery's a Boras guy. I think that Snell is, and I also believe that Bellinger is as well, but he just recently signed. And it just puts baseball in a bad spot, and it puts each team in a bad spot if you're negotiating 4 guys against teams while you're trying to get these guys signed everywhere else. It's not a good look for ball. And he's kind of notable guys sign late into the season all the time. Like the Red Sox didn't sign Trevor Story until the middle of March. And that's just the name that came to the top of my head. And there's guys obviously throughout off seasons who don't sign until later. So we might not see any Montgomery move. We might not see Blake Snell move until the middle of March, towards the end of March, right before baseball actually starts. Maybe these guys don't want to go through spring training. And in regards to Jordan Montgomery, Griff, he'll be a mid-3 ERA type guy. You just want him on the mound to get wins. And right now, the rotation that the Red Sox have is not up to par with the rest of the division. You're in the most competitive division in baseball. You're the Boston Red Sox. You have money to spend. Your whole goal of the last 2 seasons was to get under the luxury tax in order to spend. You have 2 very good lefty starting pitchers that are available in the market, and you only have some sort of momentum with one. You're favored to land Jordan Montgomery, but in reality, he's a number 2 starter. You're not going to have your ace for the Boston Red Sox. When was the last time we had an ace? The hope of Chris Sale being healthy. So it's really a tough situation. I assume Blake Snell is either going to sign back with the Padres, or he's going to end up on the Yankees or the Mets. Montgomery, I do predict that the Red Sox are going to get him. I think it's a matter of time. I think that the market's died down on him, and it's really just between the Red Sox and like maybe the Giants. And Matt Chapman, to be honest, I have no idea where he's going to go. He's a Gold Glove third baseman. Every team should want him, but no team has any traction on him. It really doesn't make any sense. And I blame Scott Boras.
I mean, yeah, I think it's really weird that 3 big names are just sitting here around. And I know, like, I mean, you hear it with us, and we're going to limit the Sox talk a little bit, but like, you hear us complaining about like pennies and dimes here with these guys and like the small little things in the contracts. And I just find it hard to believe that we're like all these three big players here, especially Blake Snell coming off of Cy Young, and like he had a couple like iffy seasons after getting traded to the Padres, now looking for a big money contract as he should. But it's just kind of a weird thing about all those kind of things. And honestly, I do think Jordan Montgomery is going to end with us. I think it's just whether or not when. But also, I think it's really weird that it's still like spring training. There's still a lot of questions going on with like rules. It's still only like pitch clock and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of that stuff kind of like if you're on the same team working with the same guys, that team chemistry is there and kind of the rules kind of blend in with your team, how you like your thought process on them. But I feel like especially for pitchers, that the pitch clock is a big worry for anybody, especially with their rotation and how that works, because they want certain guys in certain slots doing certain things.
Okay, here's my closing statement on Jordan Montgomery. We have these three names listed up here, and I know what the Rangers just did last season, and I know what he did in that postseason for them. But in terms of those three names, he's by far the bottom on that list, and I know it's crazy to compare. And I know that he's an obtainable guy for the Red Sox. What I'm just worried about is what I have been so upset with our pitching is not how bad we are. It's just the inconsistency of having five guys on a rotation, right? I just don't think that he's going to be a guy that's going to go out there and give us a bump day every 5 days for the length of a whole season. He hasn't done it in years. He finished off last season fantastic. If we get him, I'm not saying I'm going to be mad. All the help that we can get is good help. But if we're going to take innings away from Houck, and then there's just guys I feel like where they could fill in. We're not gonna win this year, and I don't think that he is gonna give us that level of consistency that this ball club needs. I'm just worried about consistency, and it's a dumb thing to say because a pitcher's a pitcher and an arm's an arm. I understand.
No, you're 100% right, and I think we're on similar pages regarding Jordan Montgomery. I'm not expecting him to come in and be the Cy Young. I'm expecting him to come in and give us a few extra wins.
I think he's a 2 for us, a 3 for what we should be.
If he gets dealt, or if he signs like a big team, like he's in the middle of the rotation.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we're relying on production of Brian Bayo to be an ace. And I'm not saying he can't be, but he's very young and he's very volatile, and he's due for blow-up starts here and there. And he's still learning. He got called up to the major. Last year was his rookie year. And I know he had some starts 2 years ago, but he wasn't that good. Last year, he was pretty good, a solid starter, but I don't think he's ready to be an ace. So having a veteran presence like Jordan Montgomery, I mean, Brian Bayo is surrounded by Pedro Martinez every single day in the offseason, which is great to see, and he's learning from one of the best of all time. But having guys in the starting rotation who are veterans can actually boost production. And that's what we need out of Jordan Montgomery. We need a solid leader in the clubhouse, and he's been liked everywhere he's gone. He's pitched in the AL East before. I know he wasn't really great with the Yankees, but he's pitched in high leverage situations for the last few years. He went from the Yankees, obviously, to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were the division leaders that year. And then he went to the Rangers, in which he had an excellent postseason. So how I would compare it is like a Nathan Eovaldi type guy who can come in, give you high leverage starts, and someone, I'm not saying you're going to strike out 10 and go 6 innings. He's someone who can come into a high leverage situation, and I'm confident he wouldn't shit his pants in that situation, which we have not had in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, I mean, if he gives me a hint of Eovaldi, I won't be upset. I just time and time again, there's so many names I could pull out of my hat of these old fucking bastards that just step on the mound for us. And I'm scared of a lefty that's just gonna come out there and throw meatballs. We have enough meatballs on our team.
We do.
But I get your. I mean, if he performs how he did to finish off, I mean, on the pace that he's on, he'd be the best pitcher on our team.
What do you guys think of the move to trade? Was it they got rid of Schreiber, right? Was it Schreiber or Winkowski that they got rid of?
I think it was Schreiber.
They got rid of Schreiber
For the Royals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that move's fine. I really.
I mean, it depends on we got the pitcher, right? We got a
starting pitcher,
a minor league pitcher.
That's fine. People were shitting on.
I mean, like it depends. Like I think that like we could have dumped him off. I think that's perfect. Let's see what that guy does because this guy didn't do anything.
Yeah, like if we're thinking about it in terms of like what we lost to what we're potentially getting, I guess like it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we want arms to develop and like starting arms. We have a lot of random arms that are in our minor league system right now, but I trust Andrew Bailey to develop pitching. That's what he's known for. And that's how he did so well with the Giants. So it's fine. I don't mind that move. I just thought it was something worth mentioning.
He's a strike guy. Andrew Bailey, strike guy.
So it's just I think Andrew Bailey would help Jordan Montgomery too. It's just the direction in which this team's going. They're kind of wavering between going for it and not going for it, rebuilding, trading off some pieces. Like we're always seeing Kenley Jansen rumors, and it's like, why are you trading away your starting closer if you're trying to win baseball games? And Chris Martin is a good pitcher as well. Garrett Whitlock's still on this team. Our bullpen is fine. I think our bullpen is a playoff bullpen. I trust a lot of those guys to come in high leverage situations as we've seen before. I just don't trust our starters. The offense is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. They still need a DH. I think that you got to bring back Duvall or JD Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really make much sense for JT to walk. He wanted to be here, and they just kind of let him walk. That was a good batting upper 200s. So I don't know. It's just a weird time to be a Red Sox fan right now because I feel like there's always been but with the Red Sox, like in terms of winning the division or even making the wild card. But this year, it just feels like there's a dark cloud over this team where they're going to collapse sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I feel like our normal but window, you know how like every year we see spring training come around and we're like, you know what, like this team could be sneaky good. Like we might not start off great, but we might catch fire and we might take a roll, kind of like a 2021 type of season. I just don't think this is the squad that kind of has that level of capacity for us. Like it just as of right now, the way we're spending, the way we're doing things, it kind of seems like we're committing to the rebuild, which I'm fine. If we're openly committing to something here, I can get behind it. But this kind of like buy and sell medium just is not it. But moving on. I also before we move on, because I know, I mean, it's not really a big deal now, but I did want to like briefly talk about the Juan Soto type of situation that's going to happen where he's a free agent next year. Do we think he's going to get sold at the deadline, or do you think the Yankees keep him for a whole season?
They're going to keep him. They put too much. I mean, they didn't really invest that much into him, but they're the New York Yankees. They're going to make a deal happen. If the Yankees, for some reason, are catastrophically bad, they're last in the AL East and there's no hope for them, that's the only way I could see them selling off Soto. But just the fact of Soto and Judge in your outfield is going to sell tickets, and that's what they want. Juan Soto is going to have a pretty good season. I think that he's going to have insane home run numbers with that short porch there. I don't think he's going to hit that well average-wise. His numbers might be down in that facet. They're going to keep him. If I just off the top of my head, they're probably going to keep him. They're probably going to sign him to an extension.
How many designated hitters do the Yankees have on their team? I'm sorry. Like
everyone, their infield is
Juan Soto is
slow,
and give it one more ankle tweak and he can't play in the outfield ever again. Aaron Judge is 6'7", so he's liable to, have an injury that it leaves him batting Giancarlo Stanton. If he ever touches the grass again, he'll probably die. Like this team is. It's not even that they're like old because Juan Soto is not old at all. He's just slow. Aaron Judge is a big guy. He's athletic, but we saw the injury last year. And then I guess they have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I don't really remember this Yankees team, nor do I care about him. But is their most athletic starting outfielder Alex Verdugo?
Yeah,
probably.
Well, I mean, they probably have hopes of Jason Dominguez too. But they have way too many. They have way too many outfielders. Like this team, the Yankees dynamic really doesn't make any sense because, like, you're gonna have Rizzo at first. You're gonna have
who's an outfielder. By the way, is an outfielder. Like was an outfielder.
Yeah, like they have Rizzo at first. You have Gleyber Torres playing second. DJ LeMahieu's going to be playing third, and you have Volpe at shortstop. Verdugo, Judge, and Soto are your outfielders.
Who's in center? Judge?
Yeah. Stanton's going to be your DH.
It's not a bad offensive lineup.
It isn't a bad offensive lineup, but that defense is going to be atrocious. I don't know. I don't think
at home they're going to be fine. It's just
God forbid a ball gets into the gap between Soto and Judge. Who's going to track it down?
Oh my god, that's going to be awesome.
I can't wait to see Soto playing right at Fenway.
And they have high hopes for their season. This is the best part. Like they don't see the holes in their
season. Well, that's why I said that, because I was like, I think it's very interesting. Because what if they're ass and Soto's like, I don't think I'm going to sign back around the deadline. Because
if they're ass. If they're asked, the number one person they're going to blame, well, first, they're going to fire Aaron Boone. Second, they're going to blame Soto. Those are
they're not going to blame Judge.
Of course not. They would never
blame the captain.
Yeah. I mean,
he earned his pinstripes.
Another guy that they're going to blame. All right. We want to talk about guys they're going to blame. Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, Juan Soto, Aaron Boone, Alex Verdugo. Those are the five horsemen of getting blamed for the Yankees' failures. Guys they'll never even fucking mention, even if they're batting under 200. Aaron Judge, they never blame Stanton for anything. They think Stanton's still elite.
Dude, Stanton could actually pull up in a wheelchair and they'd be like, oh my God, he's on the plate. He's going to hit the ball.
Yeah, Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is going to put up good numbers, but he'll shit the bed in high leverage starts every single time like he always does, and they will never give blame to him.
And Rafael Devers is his dad, so it's okay.
And DJ LeMahieu doesn't get any shit from Yankees fans.
Like he's not a big.
They gave him. He's the highest paid infielder in the MLB.
That's actually absurd.
Or one of the highest paid. I don't know if he's the highest now, but at the time that he signed that deal, it was the highest paid.
Oh yeah, that deal was nuts. Infielder.
Anthony Rendon might be up there too. Anthony Rendon is the highest paid infielder. That's right.
He doesn't even like baseball.
Okay, so I completely lied. He's not. I thought that he was at the time that he was paid. He was up there.
Did he say that during spring training that he hated baseball, or that wasn't his thing?
He doesn't care about baseball.
Yeah,
where is? Oh yeah, LeMahieu's down. Okay, never mind. I was speaking out of my ass. But at the time, it was a long-term. Well, it's still a long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of bad contracts too, obviously you can start with Rendon, but Bryce Harper's considered an infielder now. I'm saying Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's
first base now.
Chris Bryant's considered he's the 10th highest paid infielder, even though he plays left field. Javier Baez is in the top 20. Yoan Moncada is in the top 20.
Moncada.
Jesus. It's just Josh Bell's in the top 30. But yeah, there are guys who are getting underpaid. There's guys who are getting overpaid. But DJ LeMahieu was overpaid regardless because he is kind of terrible. But never will get blamed. We have to make a graphic.
The Yankees will never get blamed.
And the guys who they will hold up to this pedestal that they'll never bring down.
We should do that during the MLB season. We should have a weekly use the tier list thing.
Yeah.
The top tier is the Yankees that will never get blamed. And it's just the guys.
Yep. Yeah, we need
Alex Verdugo will always be at the top Yankee, but
yeah. That's gonna be so weird to see.
They're gonna hate him.
No beard.
They're gonna hate him. They're gonna hate him. They're gonna.
No, I know.
we already called it. Him. They're gonna hate Stroman. Yeah, we have the five horsemen. Those are the five now. That list is subject to be. There's gonna be additions to that list. I guarantee it.
But yeah, moving on to a couple notable signings really quick. Like I said before, Cody Bellinger signed for 3 years, $80 million, and then Tim Anderson accepts a 1-year deal from the Marlins. Stav, what do we think about these deals? Early reactions to these?
Bellinger, that's where he belongs. He played well last year in Chicago. Chicago's had a sneaky good offseason. I think that they're going to win the NL Central. We'll get to our MLB season or predictions way later. Tim Anderson to the Marlins, it really doesn't move the needle for them. I still think that they're in the bottom tier of the NL East. Not bottom tier. They're better than the Nationals.
They're just scrappy.
Yeah. They have some bats. I trust Jazz, but Jazz can't stay healthy. Luis Arias is he's gonna bat 350, but he's a singles merchant. Tim Anderson, for the deal that they gave him, it's fine. But you can't expect production out of Tim Anderson in 2024, unfortunately. I think that he's a strikeout merchant, and they're just going to try and compete with the Mets and the Nationals. You're not going to touch the Phillies, or you're not going to touch the Braves.
Yeah, I think that Tim Anderson, like, that is exactly where he should be. And I think it's the most drastic clubhouse change in the MLB to go from Tony La Russa in the White Sox to the Miami Marlins and whatever the hell they're doing. In terms of his career, though, do you think he was just like a move away from like actually being an all-star full-time like superstar shortstop? When we were in high school, I feel like maybe 2019, he had some sort of flair about him that made me think he had like the potential, if the White Sox ever like were good with those pitching staffs, or if he were to move to a different team, that he had the potential to like actually be something.
Tim Anderson was always
some aura.
Yeah. I mean, he was always like one of those guys who you expect to be a lot better than he actually is. And he was getting MVP votes in 2021, I believe. He was an all-star. And that White Sox team was pretty good in 2021. They made the playoffs. It's just they ran into a good Astros team.
The Field of Dreams game, he hit that walk-off.
Yeah. Like,
that's literally where his career went up.
That's where he peaked. And everyone was talking about Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson last year had a career horrible year. That's why the White Sox didn't bring him back. The White Sox are going to be a joke this year as well.
No,
but it's just a weird situation where Tim Anderson, if he gets hot, Tim Anderson's hot in 2024, in my opinion, is him batting .275 with 20 home runs.
Which is actually pretty good for the Marlins if he does that.
If he bats .275, I will be very impressed. I don't think he's going to.
A good clubhouse change for him could be what he needs.
You never know. Maybe in a low leverage situation, just because, let's be honest, no one really cares about the Marlins, and the White Sox and the Cubs. Everyone loves baseball in Chicago, so maybe that low leverage situation. I mean, he did get punked by Jose Ramirez last year. That could mess up his mentals, but excuse me, it's fine. Like, this doesn't move the Marlins out of peak third place in the NL East.
Yeah. 100%. Moving on, we got some spring training. Honestly, the biggest thing from spring training, besides some small headlines from each team, is the Fanatics jerseys. And I know in the last episode that we were saying we're going to talk about it. So first thing I'm going to say is the Royals just got special care because they wanted larger lettering on the back of their jerseys, but everybody else in the league's jerseys are just ass. And then also we're going to talk about the Yankees just not having any issues with their jerseys.
Yeah.
Anyone else see that too?
This whole Fanatics deal is terrible because the MLB is pissed. The players are pissed. The fans are pissed. Everybody is pissed. Nike's pissed. Nike's furious right now. But this is horrible for Fanatics. Did you guys see, I think it was Eugenio Suarez tweeted out a picture of his jersey on Twitter with no context, just posted a picture of it. And Fanatics customer support responded to the tweet, "This doesn't look up to our standards. Please reach out to me." This is the official MLB jersey that they're going to be wearing on the field, and their customer support doesn't think that it's adequate enough to be put on the market. So what is that saying about Fanatics? Fanatics is taking shortcuts around us. They're trying too much. And to be honest, I have no interest in buying a jersey. I remember I walked into Lids a few weeks ago, and they have the jerseys up top. I always look around, see what I like. I don't like anything. I think that they look terrible. I think that they look cheap.
I mentioned it on the prior episode. It's a sad day because we are all very well-known Fanatics supporters. You cannot lie, Stav.
Yeah, we spend
so much money.
We spend thousands of dollars at Fanatics. Literally, like, look around.
Yeah,
I wish I was in my room. I have so many jerseys. They're all from Fanatics.
Exactly. Like, literally all these
like shirts
from Fanatics. Yeah.
All of it. Everything's from Fanatics. Like all team like licensed merchandise. So what I was really upset about was the fact that they've been doing this for the NHL for a couple of years now.
Well, the NHL,
or is it the opposite?
No. Well, the thing with the NHL's jerseys is they're okay, but the actual like branded stuff. Like Adidas still runs the NHL and they still do the production for the official stuff. But if you're going to buy a replica jersey, like if you're going to buy $100 jersey, that's Fanatics. And the quality for those are kind of meh.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
terrible,
I have one. They're not terrible. I have one.
They're not
they're not
terrible.
terrible.
But they're not. No, but
It's kind of
they
like
don't have like the same
like the NBA
holes.
jerseys. The one, you know how they have like the real ones, and then they have like
Dude,
those
the
really
authentic ones are insane.
The
Well, they have
authentic
three
ones, they
levels
have the
of NBA
authentic
jerseys.
ones, then they have the replica ones, and then they have like those ones. They have like the little court where like you have like on the bottom left where like where the Nike tag is. You know what I'm talking about? With the size, it's like a little court on it. Like the quality is really ass, but like for whatever it is, like $100, maybe even cheaper now because they're usually on sale. I mean, for someone going to a game want to get a jersey really quick, like not terrible. But I mean, obviously, all big Fanatics guys here. I just like. I mean, I know we talked about the quality, but like also looking at the quality, and then they're like $350, $400 for a fucking baseball jersey. Like, are we kidding? Like, are we serious?
I'm
not
I'm nervous for what's next. I feel like I just got a jersey. Oh, I did. I just got a retro jersey. But before that, the last jersey I got was from Fanatics Sportsbook, the free jersey.
Yeah,
and it's like jerseys are just like you can either get the one that is like the Herbert one for the YouTube viewer that Will has behind him. The stitched ones, I have a Bobby Wagner stitched one and a Jamal Adams one. God bless the people that got me that. They're like $250, $300.
Yeah.
Like the
for what?
Jerseys are
like why? All jerseys like the stitched jerseys should be $175, $200.
Dude, I was just about to
and
say
then they
like,
should have those replica ones. Like, and I'll get the replica one 8 times out of 10.
I was gonna say, I remember like sitting in chat, like whenever we're like on PlayStation, whenever and we're just sitting there, whenever we're like all looking at jerseys or something, or like 175 NBA replica jersey, boom, like it's like that's like not, it's like like which one should I get? It's never like, damn, like I really don't want to spend $250.
I have to spend $1,000 to get a jersey and a fucking new era fitted hat
for a replica. It's not even the authentic one.
It's just they it's so expensive, and especially like we're talking about the MLB here. For the price that you pay for the quality that Fanatics has put out with these MLB jerseys, it's atrocious. It sucks. It really sucks because their NFL jerseys are good. Like I don't think I've ever, but Fanatics recently is dropping the ball. I think that they may be taking on too much of. I think they might be taking on too much. I know that Constantine he bought a Brad Marchand jersey and they sent him a Stephon Diggs jersey.
I remember
like
that was
they and that's just someone I know. Never mind if you're gonna go on Twitter, it's all Fanatics complaints. You don't hear anything good about Fanatics. They're dropping the ball recently. They need to figure it out. Michael Rubin needs to stop going to whiteout parties and needs to figure out his company.
Except whiteout party supporters. We are 4th of July.
So we can see
whiteout
Grant
party
Williams like one
supporters.
time a year.
Yeah,
but,
we can
no.
Gotta figure out his company.
Here's the thing. He's gonna make the craziest comeback of all time after the next whiteout party.
I mean, by then it's too late.
So,
I'm sick and
He's
tired.
gonna invite like a lot of MLB players this time.
I'm sick and tired of seeing dick and balls on my screen on Twitter because Fanatics can't figure it out. Like, not. I come to watch when I go to watch baseball. I don't want to see those balls. All right, let's figure it out.
I love how the MLB is like.
I literally jerseys were better quality.
Chest up.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. When you're watching Nesson to watch the Red Sox this year at home, they're gonna have a black sensor box over from waist down.
You know, it's bad. And like the MLB like posting, like they like go through like was it like every couple of days like they or like I think it was the NL West is ready for baseball this year, and it's like they show every like one player on every team, and then they just like it's only like actually from above like almost the stomach area up. You like they haven't shown anybody's pants. That's how bad it is. Like the fronts like don't look awful on most jerseys, but like once they turn around,
the lettering is it's just too small.
Yeah, just bad. But really quickly, get a couple headlines out of spring training. Spencer Strider now has a curveball. which was crazy to see. I don't know if anyone else saw that clip on Twitter of him throwing it like a bunch of times. James Wood with a couple home runs. He's the number 14 prospect on the Nationals. He's seemingly going to be like a good prospect coming up. And then the Orioles casually just like having single A's popping off in spring training is beyond crazy. I'm assuming they're gonna have some lineup.
The Orioles have like the best like situation going on for them. They just have like way too much talent, not enough roster spots. And
Yeah.
like the Holiday kid has a chance to make the opening day roster. Apparently, there's just a lot of youth over there. And you know, they made a push last year, and I'm not saying they're going to take a step back. I still think that they're a few years away from, you know, really contending for a World Series, but they're a dangerous team, and I'm going to mark them as a fun, young, and exciting team.
Yeah, they're going to be a fun, young, exciting team for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Have to. All right, let's get down to it. College basketball time. The new AP polls dropped. What was it, yesterday?
Yep.
I'll quickly go through them. We have Houston taking the number 1, Purdue. UConn drops 2, Tennessee and Marquette, with notables being at 9, UNC, Duke 10, thank God. Then we have Auburn, Creighton at 11 and 12, and then I threw in USF at 25 because I thought that was pretty cool. They got in. They could be a sneaky team this year. What do we think?
Yeah, all names that we mentioned, USF especially, who we talked about, you know, last episode of the SEC catching some traction. How about the American Conference after losing, you know, some of, if not their best schools, especially Houston, you know, leaving to go to the Big 12. So I feel like I'm talking like James Winston right now. I'm so excited. But the American Conference has been absolutely buzzing. It's been thanks to FAU, and for USF to host FAU last week and take them down and now to be ranked this week was absolutely massive. And they're bringing joy back to Tampa Bay. It's a great location. Their fan section gets absolutely rowdy. I feel like they get the U Tampa students coming in too because it's right across the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that you gave them the shout out. I definitely needed to give them a shout out as well. Now let's talk about the big dogs. UConn dropping down 2 spots. Obviously, I like to start with my Big East. I feel like that really came with Creighton losing to St. John's, and I feel like the story of this season is no one can win on the road. And that's not just in the Big East. That's everywhere. That's across the nation. It's so difficult to win on the road. I feel like the true Warriors are the ones that do. Houston being one of those. And then I know Purdue's at the top of their conference in road record as well. I'm not too nervous with UConn. I think that they're going to be a 1 seed come March time and in the bracket as well. I think that Houston deserves the 1 seed. I'm just glad it's not Purdue. I have a tough time agreeing with UConn dropping all the way down to 3, but I think that it's fair just with how hot all 3 of these teams are. I think after that 3 seed, when it goes down to Tennessee, there's a bit more of a fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out Creighton. That's one of the biggest wins that we've seen in Creighton. However,
the biggest, the only time they've been the 1 seed.
Yeah, they always play UConn tough. I wasn't necessarily
yeah.
surprised at that outcome. The spread was very close for a reason. Like, let's be real. I still think that UConn is the best team in the nation. I think when it comes down to it, they'll end up being the number 1 seed again. They're going to be a number 1 seed in the tournament, regardless, I think. And Creighton, if they if they didn't lose to St. John's the way they did, we would be talking a lot better about Creighton right now, because Creighton would be one of those sneaky top 10 teams that people would talk about for the rest of the season. And the rest of the top 5, yeah, it makes sense. I still think Purdue's overrated. I don't think that they're going to do much. Purdue just doesn't pass the eye test with me. I feel like they always choke when it matters, and I think Edie's overrated. Hype merchant.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. I don't agree with UConn dropping down to 3. I feel like they should be around. They should honestly. They could have stayed, but I mean, you have to give it to Houston there.
Can't move a team that doesn't lose, that hasn't lost. You know?
Exactly. And then, I mean, obviously, I think when you said right after Tennessee, there's kind of a fall off in the teams right there. I definitely believe that too. I mean, we can get into some of the games that happened over the weekend. Obviously, these rankings were affected by the games that happened. Simply Wake Forest beating Duke, which was a very crazy win for Wake Forest, and also Duke's probably
Oh,
second.
we should probably talk about that, huh?
Like, yeah,
The sports storm.
We should
Yeah.
we
probably
probably
talk
should
about
talk about
that absolute disaster of a school that Wake Forest is, according to Duke's athletic director and head coach. And I just want to come out. I wish I could say how I really feel, and say exactly what's on my mind right now. I'll text you guys it. But I'll keep it fair. Filipowski was all his fault. It was all his fault. It was all on him. You're telling me that a kid's gonna accidentally run into a 7-footer. No, you can see the guy stick his leg out and then he hurts his own leg that he stuck out. That's all on him. I get the head coach trying to defend him because what else are you going to do? But if I'm the head coach behind closed doors, I know what really happened. And I think that, this is also me being a UNC fan. I don't think that he's actually hurt. I think that he's secretly suspended behind closed doors.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting take.
Because sorry, last thing, Sav, real quick. Because he kept saying that it was his ankle, but is it his knee or is it his ankle?
Yeah,
I've heard knee, I've heard ankle. Knee,
I don't think
ankle,
he's
knee. I've heard it a lot of different places.
It's never
I
a
think
good
it's all
sign.
fake. Yep.
Never a good sign when you hear multiple different things.
Yep. Locker room issues.
Duke's a joke. They're a joke. Like, they can't win the big game, and
Can't win any game.
who's good on Duke? Like, Filipowski was supposed to be this stud. He sucks this year. I'm not saying he sucks. He's
No, he sucks.
underperforming. He's underperforming a lot. Their guard play isn't that good, and their depth concerns me. And I don't think that they're going to make it. I don't think they're going to do anything in the ACC tournament. I don't think that eventually when they get into the tournament, they'll actually do anything either. I have them out in the first or second round.
Yeah, I can see them losing to Boston College.
In the ACC tournament, yeah.
Honestly.
No, I really could.
I really could.
Post is a great big. He'll guard Filipowski. They have some wings, and they have a great guard over at Boston College that would run Duke through the roof.
Yeah.
It's all about the moment when it gets to that stage. It's all about the moment. I mean, obviously, I share the opinions of like you guys here, but I mean, I don't know how to word what I want to say, but maybe let's not lose to Wake Forest away. Maybe let's not do that.
Yeah.
That's a simple way. I don't like.
The whole ACC this year has been weird because every team's losing games that they should win, and that's what the ACC just it feels like there's a dark cloud over every single team when they go on the road.
I told you it's hard to win on the road this year. It's through all conferences. That's why the Big 12 has been crazy. That's why the SEC is heating up. You see Kentucky go at home and take down a number 10 seed, and then they're going to go and play Mississippi State tonight, the night of this recording, and they're going to have a tough time.
Same record. I mean, Kentucky beats Bama, and then we also have. I also want to talk about. Because we briefly spoke about Creighton losing to St. John's. But I want to talk about Rick Pitino showing up in all white, and then just he had to know that they were beating Creighton. There was no way.
The Big East is primed right now. We have everything going on. Sean McDermott was on part of my take. We have an all-time clip from him of how he recruited Doug McDermott, and Creighton's head coach, and now for back-to-back week, Pitino having to be mentioned on the episode. It's what better than it's like Pitino's been here for years, right, and he had to get talked into it. Did you see how he was approached by it? He was like, "Yeah, my wife and kids almost forced me to wear this."
No way, I didn't see that.
He was like, "Yeah, the kids said it would be big for the locker room. The guys would love it."
Wow. Honestly,
he tells it how it is.
Honestly, if I was playing on that team, I saw my coach show up in an all-white suit. How are you not putting on?
Rick Pitino is if my grandfather were to, if I was Italian and my grandfather were to coach a team, he's not gonna leave anything out. He's gonna make sure everybody knows everything, and he's gonna make his presence felt in every building that he steps inside of. When you're in MSG, there's a different feeling. Imagine showing up, standing courtside MSG in an all white suit. How do you lose that game? It was impossible to lose that game.
Impossible. Moving on to just the last couple games of the past week before we move on to this week, because we got a big week this week. We have UNC battling in two close games. They beat Virginia. They were 0-8 prior to this game away at Virginia, so that's a big win for UNC. And then last night, UNC got in a close one with Miami, which is never a good thing to see. But RJ Davis drops 42 and they get a win, squeeze by. I mean, there's honestly the storyline is them squeezing by and RJ getting 42. Like that's big for them.
But here's the thing. I watched the game last night, and I didn't get the chance to watch the game on Saturday. But it was really good to get out of Virginia with a win. A very tough defense, and probably the toughest defensive team in the ACC. To, like I mentioned, I mean, it's been the talk of the episode, going out on the road and to win a game where you only score 50 points when you're used to scoring 80-plus points. That's a championship looking win. And then this Miami game, I really wasn't that happy with, and I know RJ Davis goes out there and drops 42 points. But at the end of the game, UNC really did everything they could to hand that game away. They were missing a lot of free throws. And I talked to my dad this morning, and he watched the game and brought up a great point. So I actually have a question here. Up 3, your team is up 3. It's maybe like a 2-for-1 situation where the other team has a 2-for-1 situation. You're up 3 on defense. UNC yesterday fouled up 3. The other team hit 2 free throws. Luckily, they made the first, missed the second, got the offensive board to put it away. And it's kind of been a situation that's been brought up, and we do it in 2K, right? Where up 3, let's foul and we get the ball back up 1, and we'll have possession. What do you guys think in that situation? I thought it was kind of it turned out to be the right call, I guess you could say. It turned out to work. But also I do want to mention that UNC shouldn't have been there in the first place. They were up 14 points with like 4 minutes left in this game.
It's sleazy. I hate that move. I hate watching it.
Strap up and get a stop.
It's the right, like if you're talking, you don't think that you could stop the 3 ball. Like hypothetically, if I'm facing the 2016 Golden State Warriors, I'm doing that. I'm fouling.
Yeah.
But like, we're not. If he hits a 3, whatever.
Play Miami.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hate that. I hate the move as a viewer. I understand it though, as a basketball mind.
I just you have to strap up there and play defense. Like you just have to. Like I feel like if they hit the 3 on you and you end up losing that game, but then let's say you win that game, you kind of squeak out with 1, and then you're just did that really feel good? Like did you do I don't know. Not really. It doesn't really matter how you feel if you win the game, but I guess in terms of team morale and stuff like that, what kind of message do you want to send to your players? You want to have them be there, play defense, be, I guess, not really sportsmanlike in that case, but kind of, if you want to go by the rules of ball, but it is what it is. I mean, you definitely have to sit there and play defense. But we got a hell of a week in the SEC this week. I know we talked a lot about them on the last episode. We got a game here tonight, Kentucky versus Mississippi. Same record. Big game for Kentucky. Maybe even bigger for Mississippi State being at home. Being the trend here, could see an upset here.
Yeah, I don't call it an upset.
Can't, actually, yeah.
These are 2 very, very good teams. Kentucky, probably the most inconsistent ranked teams in terms of the top 25, at least in my opinion. And like I mentioned them earlier, they've really been the epitome of this team that just when they're at home, they hold it down and they look like the best team in the country when they're at home, but then they go on the road. And, I'm kind of fading myself here tonight because I'm actually taking Kentucky. I'm betting this game, and I'm taking Kentucky. I think the line is plus 3.5. They are the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
What? Plus 2.5?
I'm checking it now. I think you're right though.
And I'm taking Kentucky in this game, and Mississippi State's one of the best defensive teams in the league, and Kentucky's one of the best offensive teams in the SEC. 3.5. So I was on the dot with it. It's almost a perfect storm where everybody is obviously going to be on Mississippi State, so I'm going Kentucky. I think that this could be a very big statement win for them tonight. And I think that if they win this game tonight, then, they might be in my Final Four.
Wow.
That is a shout.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know my remember last? I said San Diego State was going to make a run in the tournament. I have my new team this year that I just placed a bet on to make it to the Final Four. And I want to hear one of your guesses each. It's not.
Is it a Power 5 conference?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anyone in the SEC. It's not anyone in the Big East. Obviously.
I'll go. SMU.
The Mustangs? Well, what do you think?
You said not a Power 5?
No.
SMU 1 year away from being Power 5.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to talk about them. I actually think that while Will's thinking about his team, I actually think that SMU is going to be a top 5 team in the ACC for football and basketball for years to come. Yep.
The ACC, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, because they're joining the ACC.
I can't think of the team that I'm thinking of.
That's where they're going.
You won't get it. I don't.
Okay. I have another one. It has to come from the Mountain West.
I was going to say
Mountain West has been on fire.
I was going to isn't St. Mary's ranked?
Yeah, Will, you got it.
Oh, and you mentioned them to me, Stav, last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, St. Mary's.
I bet on them to make it to the Final Four. I think that they're going to make a run into the tournament, plus 1,500 for them to make it to the Final Four.
I made some money off of them when they played San Francisco last week.
They don't lose, and they always cover. They don't lose, and they always fucking cover. I love them.
They do have a good little. They always put out like a good team every like couple of years where they're just like, wow, like St. Mary's.
They always have a lot of foreigners, a lot of Australians.
Yeah, they always got a good little squad going on.
Some New Zealanders.
Love them. I love them 2 years ago. Love them this year. If they play tonight, I'll bet on them. I don't think they
do.
I don't think they do. They definitely play Saturday though.
They play Wednesdays. I love Wednesdays.
Yeah, I think they might play Wednesday, Saturday.
Oh, they don't play Wednesday. They play Thursday. Against Pepperdine. Yeah, what's that spread? Whatever it is. Like St. Mary's.
Cover it.
Dude,
two big games.
They just dominate. Like they won by 26 against these whatever. They won by 50 against Pepperdine last time. Like they just win. They win and they cover. What else do you want out of a team? They win, they cover. Betting on them in March. Continue.
I like it.
Are they playing at Pepperdine next time?
I don't know.
Shout out Zoe 101. They're going to Pacific Coast Academy. Shout out Zoe 101.
Wow. Oh, shout out them. Yeah.
Wow. All right. 2 big games for Tennessee this week. They got Auburn tomorrow, which is massive. And then on Saturday, they have another big game against Bama. Honestly, I feel like they're going to lose tomorrow against Auburn. That's my prediction. I think Auburn wins. I think Auburn beats Tennessee tomorrow, and Tennessee comes back and beats Bama.
It's a tough schedule for them. I'm going to take – I think that they beat Auburn. They're at home. I think they beat Auburn, and I think the trend continues. They should be at home against Auburn and away versus Alabama.
I thought they were away against Auburn. That's why I said that. If they're home against Auburn, then flip what I said.
No, Wednesday home against Auburn.
Okay,
and then Saturday away against Bama. And the thing is, I think in the long run, Auburn's the better team. I think that they're more athletic, and I think that Bruce Pearl is a fantastic coach. Bama is just an overall athletic team, and we talked about how athletic this conference is. And they're a team that can run you off the court. And especially when they're at home, that environment, that arena is always a fun place to play a basketball game if you're the home team. And I think that if anyone's going to beat them in the SEC at home, it's going to be Tennessee. So you know what? Fuck it. I think that they're going to sweep this week. I think Tennessee and Dalton Connect. I think Dalton Connect makes his case for Naismith Player of the Year this week. And I think that at the end of this week, he'll be named SEC Player of the Week. And I mean, the kid's just electric. His story is awesome, where he's coming from and what he's done to get to the point he is now, being the leading scorer in the SEC, being the top dog for the number 4 team in the country, and the kid can shoot the hell out of the ball. So he's just an electric player that could stun a team at home,
100%. We got another game also in the SEC this week on Saturday. South Carolina versus Florida. Another big game. I know they're lower down in the top 25, but still solid squads. South Carolina's been really good this year, but I don't know. Florida's also one of those another team that I kind of like going into this because they kind of have a sneaky good squad. Like they're not going to go crazy, I think, in the tournament, but I think they have an easy. I think they'll have a good Sweet 16 run.
Yeah. I like Florida. I like Florida in this game especially. They're all right. Like I feel like a lot of these teams in the SEC, especially in the middle of the pack, you look at them, nothing really excels with them. I mean, nothing really will bring them down. Walter Clayton's averaging almost 18 points a game, I think. And they have a very balanced squad. No one really dominates, but they're balanced. And that's what you kind of need in college basketball. That's what you need in the SEC. They're sitting in the middle of the pack in the ranked teams of the SEC. So I like Florida as well in this, and this should be a good game.
Yeah, winner of this game can, if South Carolina wins this game, they can separate themselves, be 2 games ahead of Florida in the SEC conference standings. And I mean, just like that being said, the opposite way, if Florida wins this, they're knotted up with South Carolina, and then they're in the mix where it's now Tennessee, the teams that we just mentioned, Tennessee, Bama, Auburn, and then we could see that next team potentially being Florida with a win. So that's why I'm going to take them to go into South Carolina and come out victorious. I think South Carolina, what they're so good at is defense, and they're a team that doesn't really have a guy that can go out and make a big play at the end of the day or at the end of a game. And I don't think that'll even matter. I think that this is one of those games where something gets exploited, and that defensive consistency that we've been so used to seeing from South Carolina kind of gets exposed. And I think that Florida has a great opportunity to do that this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Moving into the beloved Big East. Very quickly, we got Seton Hall UConn rematch on Saturday. I think UConn's going to take that. I think there's no question about that. I'm sure we all think the same there. But the bigger game here, we have Marquette versus Creighton, which is definitely going to be one of the games of the weekend for sure. Battle-tested both teams. I kind of like Creighton.
So that's what I was going to say. This is a legit test for Creighton. Obviously, you come out with the biggest win in your program's history against UConn last week. This is a legit test, right? Everyone can beat somebody on one given night. But if you go out and you beat another top 5 team 2 weeks later, this is a legit test. I think that this will put Creighton in. So obviously they're not sitting at top 3 in the Big East. Seton Hall is that spot. But if we're going to talk about the Big East, I think if Creighton wins this game, you cannot mention the Big East without Creighton.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. You just teed it up perfectly for me, because before we even get to that, Creighton has a date with Seton Hall on Wednesday night. So, they have the opportunity. And even better, I think it's a perfect ramp-up game for them. Creighton go out there, win that, and then secure 3rd place in the Big East, and then go up against 2nd place in the Big East and the 5th-ranked team in the nation. And, just like I said, I feel like it's a great ramp-up game for them. They'll be at home, which they will be on Saturday against Marquette. Marquette also has a date tomorrow night with Providence, that one being at Marquette. So I kind of feel like almost Creighton's kind of setting themselves up a little bit better heading into the weekend, where Marquette's going to have a tough game. They'll be at home, obviously, but then they got to travel down to Creighton. I'd say, I'll start with Wednesday. I think that Marquette handles business against Providence. They're a great team at the dunk. But, for Providence to travel all the way to Milwaukee, they obviously won't have a great away crowd. And Marquette will handle business. I think same goes with Creighton. And Creighton secures that 3rd place in the Big East, which they've been waiting for. And then I think the big clash is going to be a lot bigger than we think it is. It's going to be the 5 versus the 12 guys. but I really don't think that this is the 5th best team against the 12th best team. I think that this is a top 8 matchup in the nation on the GK polls. And I have Creighton coming out victorious. What a more perfect scenario for Creighton to have UConn at home, then see Creighton at home, or then see Marquette at home the very next week. They have the opportunity to have, the greatest Linsanity run in their program history since Dougie McBuckets. So I'm really excited for that. And I guess as a fan of the Big East, I'm kind of just hoping Creighton wins that just for the storylines.
100%. It's going to be a great game. And then wrapping up college basketball really quickly, we got 2 teams. I think, what are they, 3-4 or 4-5? Nope, they're 3-4 in the Big 12. We got Kansas versus Baylor wrapping up the ranked games of the weekend. There's honestly a big game for both of these teams. This is big play for their conference, as Houston obviously moves up to number 1 and Iowa State kind of taking command of that number 2. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to say Kansas is going to win this game. I think they're going to set their spot in stone here and kind of make a good run to end off the season here.
I mean, they have to. Kansas had title hopes going into the season, title aspirations. And I feel like they're another one of these teams that always crumble in the big game. And we need to see Kansas win this game in order for me to take them legit. There's a lot of legit tests coming up on Stav's legit test rankings weekend. So some teams need to figure it out. Some teams need to win. Kansas is definitely one of them because you look at the talent, it's there. But the fact that they're ranked 7, the fact that they've lost some of the games that they've lost, they don't necessarily pass the eye test every single weekend. So this is a must win for Kansas.
Yeah, and they have a great test in Baylor, and then they'll meet Houston, I think the very next week, right before conference tournament opens up. So it's going to be a tough way to finish up the season. They definitely have to win one of them. It would be great if they win both of them. If they win both of them, I mean, it's going to be hard to not give them a 1 seed going into March, especially if they go out and win the conference tournament. I still like Houston, I think, out of the Big 12. It's been tough in that division, or in that conference, excuse me, because twice a week you're playing a ranked opponent, really. And if you're not playing a ranked opponent and you got to go on the road to someone that's just off the rankings, everyone in the Big 12 is a good team. There's no easy games. There's no setup games in this conference. Every game is a clash. And I mean, we saw it even with West Virginia. I mean, in Kansas State game went into overtime on Monday. And West Virginia even gave Iowa State a tough time the other week. So these top teams in the Big 12 and these bottom teams in the Big 12 aren't as far away as we think they are. That's just how good this conference is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And moving on in the likes of basketball and on to the association, nothing better to talk about than our beloved Boston Celtics being 2-0 post All-Star break, only 5 days off the break. We beat the Bulls and the Knicks, which both of those games were not even close, I don't believe. We kind of have ball in our hand the whole time there. And then we play the 76ers tonight, and I think the Mavs on, Friday.
Yep.
On Friday. Both big games, and we have a 7.5 game lead in the conference. I mean, there's not too much to talk about with the Celtics here. We kind of just got off break, only a couple games, not really too much test. The 76ers are mid as usual.
They've been on a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I love the Celtics. It's just how am I going to come out here and be like, oh yeah, the Celtics are going to win tonight, because in the regular season anything could happen.
No, exactly. And then it's also we're so far ahead where we're going to be throwing our bench into these games. We focus on the bigger things here. But honestly, the biggest news I think from around the league this week, and I'm really excited to talk about this, is the Clippers' new logo. They got a new stadium coming in for next season, new jerseys, new everything. Our favorite thing to talk about, jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Initial reactions.
Fire.
Yeah.
Love the simplicity of. They did a good job. Shout out Nike. Usually Nike overdoes it with new jerseys. They did a good job with these.
Yeah, the jerseys are amazing. I want to give a shout out to the logo, all of the logos that they came out with. People are making fun of it for being a cruise ship. What do you think the Clippers are? I love it. I love the darkened blues. I love the reds. And I'm hoping that at some point we maybe see a pop of that old baby blue that we used to see in their nautical themed jerseys from back in the Lob City days. I'm hoping maybe we get some sort of variation of that in like their earned edition uniforms in following years or whatever that may be. But it's always an exciting time because, they had the opportunity, they're getting a new stadium to rebrand their team, and it's kind of like you're taking your team into a new stage. So this is the new era of the Los Angeles Clippers. Like when they remade their logo in the last one with like the basketball in it, wasn't really a big fan of that logo. I thought it was kind of like blocky, and I thought it was during a time where everybody was kind of trying to do the same thing with their rebrandings, and it was kind of just like a stock, and it was just like very basic. So I think that the logos was what really impressed me, and then the jerseys was kind of just like a culmination of all the good pieces of the Clippers uniforms from the past, a kind of more modern take on it. And the Clippers have always had great uniforms, and I think that they just continue on with that. And like it's almost like they never miss.
Yeah, I mean, big fan of what the Clippers are doing. I think it was about time that this is long overdue. New logo, new jerseys, and they're getting a new stadium, which is big for their whole rebranding process. And honestly, I don't know. I feel like, our whole lives they had like that OG logo one with the white lettering, and they had the basketball and it said Los Angeles Clippers. Like that's just like a classic right there. And then they moved on to this like LAC with the basketball thing, like you were talking about. Griff wasn't too much of a fan of that one, but I think like it's about time that in their lifetime, but also in ours, where they kind of separate themselves from the Lakers, where it's just like they're getting a new stadium, they're not playing in the same facility. They're just like both of those teams just don't need to be together. If that it's kind of like it's weird because obviously you have like the Jets and the Giants where it's like it's not a horrible thing, but it would be nice if they had their own kind of thing. But for them, it just two teams in LA which play in the same arena. It's kind of weird. But I'm excited about it though.
And Will, where we were for the Chargers game is where they're going to be relocating. It's not like they're leaving Los Angeles.
Right across the street because it's the Forum, right?
The Forum's staying.
It was. Oh, it's staying.
The Forum's still a thing. They're keeping the Forum, and the new Intuit Dome is like down the street.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
they're really
it's not like they're
even,
leaving Los Angeles. It's that they're moving to like a different part of Los Angeles, but it's still half hour, 45 minutes away from the Staples Center. Like it's nowhere close. And I'm glad that you brought it up. It was a great move. They've been looking for a new stadium just for a personalization of a franchise for them to finally have like their own home. And then I just think that rebranding was the perfect time. It was almost like they had to. They really didn't have a choice. It'll be the same thing for when Oakland moves. They're gonna have to make a decision whether they want to keep their name, their colors, all of that fun stuff. And it's always the most exciting time because that's why everybody loves Oregon football. That's why everybody loves Notre Dame. Like we always see these new jerseys, college football, new helmets. We always want the new helmets. We love to see new uniforms.
100%. And then moving on to the NFL stuff, I'm going to lob it up to you. Take us away here.
Absolutely. So some storylines. I know we've taken a break from talking about football last few episodes, but there's some stuff that's happened, and I think it's worth talking about. T. Higgins was recently franchise tagged. If they can't come to a long-term deal, they are most likely going to trade him. The same thing with L'Jarius Sneed. And obviously that's just premature speculation, but there's going to be a big market for those guys if those guys end up on the trade block. We'll just go rapid fire through these. Another notable thing, the top QBs are pretty much all opting out of the draft combine and out of their personal or their team's pro days, which is concerning for me. Listen, I've been talking about Jaden Daniels for the longest time, over half a year at this point, and I wish that he was on display at the combine and at his pro day. It's concerning. Caleb Williams, this doesn't surprise me, but this was his chance to kind of solidify himself as the number one pick. I think that he's going to be the consensus number one pick. However, I don't think he's the best quarterback in this draft. Drake May hasn't really declared whether or not he's going to do it. He has to at this point. He has to. It can only help him. Griff, I think you and I talked about this before. Yep. I gave you a preliminary insight into my breakdown for my draft order. And Drake May needs to do this to boost his stock because he's been falling as of late.
And I would love to add that, like you said, it would only help him because I think that he would overperform. I feel like his mold and, his build, what we've seen in college kind of fits towards someone that would perform well at an NFL combine type thing where, like people always like to complain about the combine. You're not in pads and in a helmet. Like you're not out there 11v11. It's a skills showcase. And if you can throw the ball far and you can throw it accurate, then you're going to look like a good quarterback. And Drake May can do those things.
100%. I mean, like we said, it can only really help him here. And I feel like obviously this is a skills showcase here. If he can go out there, show what he can do, and a team likes him enough to be like, oh, I think I can mold this quarterback into someone that can lead this team to a Super Bowl, then that can only help him. So,
yeah. All right. Next thing that we want to talk about, the Patriots are meeting with the top 3 quarterbacks that we just mentioned this upcoming week: Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. Elliot Wolf made comments today. He's the acting GM of the Patriots. A quarterback needs to be someone who's poised. Basically, what I said before, a quarterback needs to be a dog. And he said that your quarterback shouldn't be showing negative body language on the field, and he should never be pointing fingers. That's basically a direct shot at Mac Jones. So you can expect him to move on. And I think that pretty much silences the rumors, maybe, of them trading out of that number 3 pick. I want them to use it on Jaden Daniels. But if there's some speculation that the Minnesota Vikings they love Jaden Daniels. They want him. They're possibly mortgaging their entire future on trading up to get him. So there are some trade rumors. I'm just floating it out there. If you end up going out and signing Baker Mayfield and then trading down from that pick, I love that. And if you can get a star receiver like Justin Jefferson, your team can possibly be competing for the AFC East for going forward because you have $100 million in cap space.
I mean, perfect. Like you just said, it doesn't have to be Justin Jefferson. And the 98.5 was talking about Justin Jefferson today. But, you go get Baker Mayfield, and Mike Evans is free agent too. Like, people are forgetting about him. I feel like he's been someone that hasn't been talked about for the Patriots. In my head, I feel like is a great fit. And especially with this new system that we have yet to see, I feel like there's going to be a lot more freedom. I feel like Mike Evans will have a great opportunity to strive in that. And even if it's with a first-year quarterback or if it's with a Baker Mayfield. I feel like one thing that I haven't heard a lot of is Mac Jones. And I feel like, we obviously haven't talked a lot about it. Is he just, like, officially not going to be the starting quarterback next year? Like, there's just, no chance.
It's like 75% he's not.
Okay. I love the Baker Mayfield idea, by the way.
I do too. I said that 2 years ago. I'll pull up the text I sent. I have it saved somewhere. I said I want Baker Mayfield to be the quarterback of the Patriots. And
I love the idea.
I think Baker, I guess I'm the biggest Baker stan. That's not like I don't know how to, that isn't on a team that he plays for, I guess. But he got the short end of the stick in Cleveland. Cleveland probably would have made a larger run in the playoffs if they had Baker this year. Mm-hmm. He got the short end of the stick, and I'm sure that they would want Baker Mayfield as their quarterback right now over Deshaun Watson. And I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to demand too much money. I think that he's going to play for a pretty decent-sized contract. I don't think that he's going to ask for a lot of money, though. I think that he's going to make it majority incentive-based. That's a dude who wants to win. That's a guy who every single teammate that's ever played with him loves him.
So honestly, I like what you said, Griff. Like if we Pats end up getting Baker Mayfield, I kind of like leveraging our situation into potentially just having an overall better team. I mean, thinking about it, if they take a quarterback, are we like in the same position as before, where we drafted a quarterback who we thought was going to be our starter and doesn't pan out because we don't spend the right way? I'd rather solidify someone we already have and then put pieces around him and then try again next year, maybe.
Well, yeah, that was quick. You're good.
Someone in like a later round. But I do like the idea of getting Baker Mayfield, and I also like the idea of potentially signing Mike Evans. They played together all last year. They had a great connection. Solves every issue.
I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver. People fail to forget. I just feel like he gets underlooked no matter where
all the time
he is, no matter what position he is, and no matter what he's being brought up about. Like right now we're talking about free agency and we're like, oh yeah, like where may he go? Like in my opinion, if he wasn't on Tampa Bay his whole career, this would be the biggest headline. Where is this guy going this offseason? He has had 1,000 yards receiving every single year he's been in the league. The dude is insane. Like the numbers that he put, if you just look at it statistically, are insane. And then you go out and watch him and you're like, you know what? Yeah, this guy does do it at a very high level. So I think that the Patriots have a lot of opportunities to improve their team this offseason. I think that, what I've seen in the media is that they're going to go ahead and do it. I have no idea who this Elliot Wolf guy is. I guess he's the head of recruiting.
Yeah.
Or was. So I'm glad that
scout.
it's like someone from a system of recruiting that got that interim role instead of like Robert Kraft's dog sitter's dad. It's a good move. So far, and I don't want to
here's the
speak too
proof,
soon.
by the way. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'd take Baker over Mac right now, December 8th, 2022.
Yep, I see it. Yep, I got it. But I just wanted to say, as of right now, from the starting of letting go of Bill Belichick, I really haven't seen the Patriots make a wrong move. I'll knock on wood when I have some wood near me. I don't want to be the one to say it. I'm saying it from an unbiased perspective.
I mean, they're operating like a normal organization for the first time.
Exactly.
Years.
Like, there's nothing like under the rug. Like, we're not. The dog isn't drafting this year,
Yeah. Like, we have a head coach, we have an offensive coordinator, we have a defensive coordinator. That's a big step up from last year. And that's crazy to say.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, we didn't have a defensive coordinator last year. We had 4 defensive guys who called plays. Like that, there's so much confusion there. I mean, the defense wasn't the problem, don't get me wrong. But the offense was just a shit show. And now you have guys in specific roles, and we probably have the youngest coaching staff in the NFL. And a bunch of former players. Like we can talk about this time and time again. As we see this roster kind of gets constructed, we can see where the direction of where this team is going. I think that regardless of the move they make, I'm going to trust it right now because you can't go wrong with $100 million in cap space. Unless you give like $75 million to Kendrick Bourne, I really don't think that you can do much wrong this year. I'm saying 1 year, $75 million. I'm not saying like if he ended up signing like a 5-year deal or whatever, I wouldn't hate it. He's not going to sign for $75 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I 100%. I feel like I'm in the same boat with you, Stav, where like I feel like I can trust any move that this team makes. I also feel like we're I like how they hired Gerard Mayo like soon and kind of avoided that like that scared mentality or kind of like that standoffish kind of period where it's just like, what are we doing? Like that panic mode that like teams tend to head into, especially because it's a quick turnaround from the end of the Super Bowl right into the draft. Like it's quicker than you think. I mean, now we're sitting here, we're sitting back and we're looking at all of our options, where I feel though, as before, where it's like, yeah, we're probably going to sign this guy and this is the direction of the team this year. And it's like,
there's few receivers too that I would love on the Patriots. I mean, Michael Pittman's up there too. You said Mike Evans before, Griff. You're probably a receiver away from having you need a threat. You need someone who teams have to game plan for. Excuse me. And you're that guy away from having a very good offense, I think. And I'm saying that as if we're going to bring in a quarterback too. I think bringing in a quarterback is the bare minimum. And if it's Jaden Daniels, if it's Baker Mayfield, you need to get him a wide receiver 1. We haven't had a wide receiver 1 since fucking Randy Moss. Like, I'm going to say it. Julian Edelman, I think, is a Hall of Famer just because of his playoff production and whatnot. He wasn't a wide receiver 1. Like, and we saw it in 2019 when Gronk wasn't here. Julian Edelman couldn't pick up the slack that the offense lacked. That's what the reason why we never got star power around Tom Brady at the end of this tenure. We can talk about Tom Brady all we want with the Dynasty documentary coming out, but if I want to quote it, Josh McDaniels was saying how him and Belichick sat down in 2007 and they're like, okay, we need star power on this offense if we want to be able to compete with Indianapolis or whatever it was. So they went out and they got Randy fucking Moss. Why did that philosophy change in the later half of it? I don't know. And I also do kind of want to shout out Bill Belichick, GM. He got them out of cap hell. Like, let's be real. They were in cap hell after Tom Brady left. They were owed money that they shouldn't have owed. Last 3 years, he rebuilt. We went through a rebuild, and we had a playoff appearance through a rebuild, which we're kind of lucky to see. Last 2 years were shit, but we're in cap heaven right now. We have a lot of money to spend, and we can reconstruct a roster and we can put a competitor on the field that can compete for a playoff spot.
100%.
And shout out Matthew Slayer. He retired.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Hall of Famer, best special teams player of all time. Shout out Slater. Shout out the Patriots dynasty. Shout out us.
Thanks.
I'm done.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all I got. I guess next week I'll have to be ready, primed up with my version of that for my team,
Please
which
do.
I kind of already am. Got to write a few things down. I guess all I have to say, I'll just say one thing about the Seahawks. I don't even think I mentioned them in this episode once. Shout out for restructuring Geno Smith's contract. It's either Penix or McCarthy. And I'm nervous. And it better be Penix. And I don't care that he's a lefty. I think that we could take him for a year under Geno's belt, maybe 2 years under Geno's belt. I think the more the merrier at this point, because I just hate the way that quarterbacks have been progressing in the NFL in their younger years. They're kind of thrown into the fire. I think Penix, to have another year with, we just signed a new offensive coordinator who was Washington's coordinator. So same exact coach. Which would equal a very similar system, which they already play pro style in Washington, would be fantastic. I'll give you guys a much longer spiel on that next week, though. I'll be much more prepared for it. But we hope you guys did enjoy this episode. A lot of content, a lot of sports covered here, a lot of leagues covered in here. Very excited about it. We will catch you guys on the next episode, and peace.